Hey guys, let's get more news about Dallas, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Ex-Cowboys WR signs with Commanders in free agency. The Dallas Cowboys will see a familiar face when they line up against the Washington Commanders offense later this year. Maybe more so than any other team, Dallas knows what Noah Brown can offer and will now have to prepare for him as a member of the Commanders. On August 28, ESPN reporter Jeremy Fowler revealed that Brown was joining the Commanders. Source: WR Noah Brown signing with #Commanders. Will join active roster. Washington gets much-needed receiver help, Fowler wrote on X. Brown last played for the Cowboys in the 2022 season, but moved on from Dallas the following offseason. After a positive year with the Houston Texans, Brown looked to be sticking around after signing a contract last March. However, the offseason's ending did not go to plan for Brown as he was released on August 27. Unsurprisingly, he was quickly picked up, and the Commanders were the team to land his services. The Cowboys will play the first of two games against Washington on Thanksgiving, while their second contest is on an undetermined date in Week 18. Cowboys fans did not see a ton of Brown even when he was in Dallas, partially due to his role on the depth chart. Despite making 66 appearances over 5 seasons, Brown totaled just 980 receiving yards over that time according to Pro Football Reference. It was until his 2022 season that he properly showed off his receiving abilities. The former Ohio State Buckeye caught 43 passes for 555 yards and 3 touchdowns. He continued that improved production after joining Houston, although a majority of his season totals came across 3 games. In a wild 39-37 win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Week 9, Brown caught 6 passes for 153 yards and a touchdown. The following week, the 28-year-old caught 7 passes for 172 yards against the Cincinnati Bengals. About a month later in Week 15, Brown brought down 8 catches for 72 yards and a TD against the Tennessee Titans. Over those 3 contests, Brown accounted for a large majority of his receiving yards and caught his only 2 touchdowns of the season. A major talking point of Dallas offseason has been the contract saga of CeeDee Lamb. Lamb held out of training camp as he pined for a new deal, which he eventually got this past week. Now that the dust is starting to settle on the 4-year, $168 million contract, Lamb is opening up on his side of the situation. As Heavy's J.R. DeGroot recently covered, Lamb isn't getting caught up in Cowboys owner Jerry Jones' comments. He's entitled to whatever he's got to say. As long as we get a deal done, I ain't got nothing, Lamb said, according to NFL.com. Everything is behind us. I'm not worried about nothing. We got what we needed to get done and now it's time for me to go ball. The deal going through is a sigh of relief for Cowboys fans. Lamb is coming off a record-setting season that featured 1,749 receiving yards and 12 touchdowns. Cowboys lose stud undrafted free agent to waivers after moronic roster snub. The Dallas Cowboys announced a wave of roster cuts on Tuesday to complete their initial 53-man roster for the 2024 season. Most of the moves were expected. The players kept at quarterback, running back, wide receiver and cornerback were easy to predict. As always, the Cowboys made some moves that were downright surprising. Trading Peyton Hendershot to Kansas City came out of left field. As did keeping offensive lineman Matt Waletzko, who was an abject disaster in preseason and had no business making the team. In terms of undrafted free agents, tight end Brevin Spanford was surprisingly the only one to make the cut. While Spanford is raw, the Cowboys clearly didn't want to risk losing him to waivers. It's hard to fault them for that, but they also should have taken that approach with safety Julius Wood. Widely regarded as the front-runner of Dallas undrafted free agents to make the roster, Wood was claimed on Wednesday by the Tennessee Titans. Cowboys fans crossed their fingers that Wood would survive waivers and return to the practice squad, but that was wishful thinking. Wood put together an excellent training camp and preseason. He played everywhere in Mike Zimmer's scheme, including 46 snaps in the box as a strong safety, 43 at free safety and 15 in the slot, per Pro Football Focus. He allowed 2 catches for 5 yards in coverage and intercepted 2 passes. A 3-year starter at East Carolina, Wood allowed a 30.6 passer rating and made 3 defensive stops, which are tackles that constitute as a failure for the offense. His physicality against the run made him a dream pairing with Zimmer. He's a playmaker in every sense of the word. Unfortunately, Wood competed in a deep Cowboys safety room. Donovan Wilson, Malik Hooker, Wanya Thomas and Marquise Bell made the team. It would have been difficult for Dallas to keep Wood, being that he would struggle to make the game day roster, but sometimes teams have to bite the bullet in the name of holding on to talented players. Dallas Cowboys, Dak Prescott on no new contract, it says a lot. As great of a thing as it was to finally have Lamb under contract, the Cowboys are still entering the 2024 NFL season with 2 of their other star players in the final years of their own current deals. Linebacker Micah Parsons and quarterback Dak Prescott each are due to make record-setting money for their respective positions on their next contracts. Prescott is entering the final season of a 4-year $160 million contract that he signed with Dallas prior to the 2021 season. Part of that contract states that the Cowboys cannot place their franchise tag on him after the 2024 season. In other words, he will be able to explore free agency if the team does not lock him up before next offseason. Obviously, Lamb's absence from training camp enhanced the urgency to get his deal done. While those negotiations were taking place, though, 4 different NFL quarterbacks signed massive contract extensions that only drove up Prescott's price. The Detroit Lions and Jared Goff agreed to a 4-year $212 million, $53 million a year, that made him, at the time, the second highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Not long after, though, the Jacksonville Jaguars gave Trevor Lawrence a 5-year contract worth $275 million, $55 million a year, that tied him with Joe Burrow of the Cincinnati Bengals as the highest-paid quarterback in the NFL. Not long after teams began training camp, the Miami Dolphins announced they had come to a 4-year agreement with Tua Tagovailoa worth $212.40, $53.1 million a year. Hours later, the Green Bay Packers announced they had agreed with Jordan Love on a 4-year $220 million deal, $55 million a year. All of these deals have led many to believe that Prescott's next extension could be worth upwards of $60 million annually. On Thursday, Prescott spoke to the media and answered questions regarding the status of his own contract negotiations with the Cowboys. According to ESPN's Adam Schefter, when he was asked about whether or not he wants to get a deal done soon, Prescott said, "I think it says a lot if it is or if it isn't. But however, doesn't really matter to me, to be honest with you." When asked what it says that a deal is not done yet, the star quarterback responded, "Just how people feel." Earlier this week, Cowboys owner Jerry Jones told the media, "When you look at a situation, you've also got to weigh, okay, what are the consequences of the other side of the coin?" And so Dak's situation right now for me, for my mirror, has more to do with our situation than it does with the merits of Dak Prescott being the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. And while Prescott knows that the NFL is business, that does not mean he is not feeling some sort of way about it. He will play at a high level for his teammates, and because that is what he is paid to do. But it may not be the Cowboys who pay him the big money on his next contract. And you, fan? What do you think of the situation of Dak Prescott? Leave your opinion in the comments.